no one has the moves like Mr. Bean. He just, look at him. Yeah. All right, Mr. Bean, I'm going to join you. I'm going to join you. Let's come out in this shot a little bit. I love reggae. How about you? All right, I'm going to set this down. It's probably about 40 pounds. Woo! Yeah, keep it going, Mr. Bean. Keep it going, buddy. Woo! Woo! Boy, how do you beat reggae for getting your heartbeat up a little bit, huh? Well done, Mr. Bean. Well done. Woo! Very cool music, very cool music. So what do we have in front of us here? Obviously this is an unboxing, although based on the way this kind of kicked off, you're wondering maybe it's a dance show, and I'm totally good with that too. So how do we move on from this point? I guess I can move on by telling you a little bit about this delivery. It's been many, many, many months ago that I presented in a premiere a free Westinghouse machine that I started referring to it as the golden machine because that's how my customer referred to it. And my customer is from the great state of California. And her first name is Jodie. And Jodie had reached out just totally stoked. I guess it's been about a month ago. And she said, guess what I got? Guess what I found? And she went on to tell me about kind of going back to her childhood where her mom was not a sewer. Her mom didn't have any interest in sewing machines at all. But her mom's friend, whose name was Cora, C-O-R-A, was very enthusiastic about sewing and was an encouragement to Jodie as she would attempt different projects relating to sewing. And this particular very good friend of Jodie's mom, Cora, would oftentimes talk about this particular type of machine that she had. And so Jodie always kind of dreamt of the idea of getting a machine like her mom's best friend Cora had. So this machine inside of this box has already been named Cora in honor of Jodie's mom's best friend. And just kind of what that influence of that friend did for Jodie in inspiring her to pursue sewing and to fall in love with sewing, and eventually to begin acquiring vintage sewing machines, kind of like that free Westinghouse, the golden machine that Jodie got from me. I guess it's been about a year ago. I lose track of time. Everything's a blur. Everything's a blur, particularly after that little bout with trying to dance reggae style, man. But I can tell you that this particular machine that we're going to unbox today has never been in this workshop before, nor anything like it. It's a very unique machine. I would say it's a fairly rare machine. The only hint I'm going to give you is that the roots of this machine go all the way back to chain stitching. Similar to the So Handy Electric that Veronica, my good friend from out in Virginia, ended up winning recently through that impromptu contest. So that's the only hint I'm going to give you, and we're going to start jumping into this, obviously with a backdrop of reggae music all the way through. So if you don't like reggae music, you might as well just turn down your dial. But why would you? It's such a joyful style music. It takes you to, I mean, going to an island, the warm breezes coming off of the ocean, the warm smiles that you get in so many of those wonderful cultures. Why would you want to turn the music down? But hey, it's your control to turn down if you want. So, but you might miss something at the same time. So that's up to you. That's totally up to you. And once we unbox this machine, I've got a lengthy history that I want to share with you about this particular company. Okay? All right. So let's get some more reggae music going once I get my computer out of sleep mode here. All right, let's see. That first one I put on is called Burkine Electric, and this next one is called Tin Spirit. So let's see what this one sounds like. Again, all of these are going to have a reggae type flavor. And if any of you are movie buffs too, and like funny movies, one movie that I really enjoyed watching more than once is a movie called Cool Runnings. And Cool Runnings is based on the true story of a Jamaican bobsled team that's formed and ends up going to the Olympics against all odds. I mean, let's face it, Jamaica is not the perfect setting to practice bobsledding. So this music kind of takes me back to that, just that warmth and that charm of a culture like that. So here we go, let's go. And I should mention, Jodie purchased this machine on eBay, and it was shipped from the eBay seller directly to the workshop, as I've done with other machines before, or I should say as customers have done with other machines before. So Jodie has not even seen this yet. When we unbox this today, this will be Jodie's first opportunity, other than the photographs in the eBay listing, to actually see this machine in a real setting, in a sense. All right, here we go. I think this guy watched my videos. He knows that I don't like this styrofoam stuff, so I've got a good little assortment of it here. I'm going to go ahead and raise this camera just a little bit. kind of see my point. I mean, what are these actually? What are these actually doing? They're not doing anything. So I don't know. I guess people just have the false sense of security that if you put something like this in there, it somehow is miraculously going to protect the precious cargo inside. But well, you already know. This stuff just disintegrates. I think even if you buy this stuff like brand new from a factory that makes it, it grows brittle just so quickly that it just doesn't really afford any protection to a machine, whether it's in a case or not. You can see this one is in a case, but as far as protecting the case, it only affords a little bit of protection. So I wish I could convince people around the world and eBay sellers in particular, you know, just because you have some of this styrofoam stuff, invest in a little bit in your customer and get some bubble wrap or get something that, I mean, it's just, look at this. I'm going to go on a styrofoam rant here any second now, and start as my friend Veronica would say out in Virginia, I'm going to start tripping about styrofoam. Oh, this stuff is just, ugh. Not to mention it picks up that static and it sticks to you like glue. If you try to... Alright, I'm going to try my best just to lift this straight up because there's really nothing holding it in there other than the busted up styrofoam on either end of it. So we should be able to lift it straight up. I'll get this box out of the way and then we'll move on to the next step of going into this box. And once I get this box out, maybe you'll have a better opportunity to toss out a guess as to what you think this machine is. What is this very sentimental machine to Jodie? Again, Jodie's mom's best friend would point to this machine all the time as Jodie was a very young girl, beginning to build that interest in the sewing space. And this best friend of her mom's was just so influential. And this is the type of machine that friend had. So let's see if we can get closer to you venturing a solid guess as to what it is. Ooh, that's got a little bit of meat on it, I'll tell you that right now. Woo, doggy. And I'll just let you look inside of the box real quick. I'll kind of hold it like this. Now, if I presented to you on this channel that this is the standard of world-class packing, if you didn't unsubscribe from this channel, I would be utterly shocked. And I know one of Jodie's concerns, and I shared that concern with her as well. As we looked at some of the feedback that this particular seller had gotten some very sharp criticism, some negative feedback on their attention to detail when it came to packing expensive items. And I will tell you this, that Jodie invested some money in this item that we're going to unbox the rest of the way in just a moment or so. We're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And all I can say is this does not get a kudos from me when all you have literally is the item box, which also needs to be protected as well. I've shown you that in packing videos before, and all they did was stick it into, it looks like a color copying type box. What is it? Maybe it's a small TV box. I have no idea. I think it's a small TV box. And then they stuck a bunch of busted up styrofoam around Jodie's very, very precious and expensive eBay purchase. So if this were me as the buyer, it would be reflected in the feedback. It would be reflected in the feedback. Whether that item has arrived unbroken or not, the quality of this shipping is just totally, totally unacceptable. I know. But why wouldn't you? Someone's willing to spend that much money to purchase something from you as a seller. Why wouldn't you go out of your way to make sure that that item receives the absolute best protection that it can get? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. All right, I better put on some more reggae. Music. All right, this next one is called Satisfaction Guaranteed. And the one before it again was called Tin Spirit. So let's see what we think of this one. Now Jodie would know probably better than I would, but I'm going to zoom in on this case because I see damage here, and I see a crack running all the way from the back to the front. And if that was in the photos that she saw on eBay, then we're good to go. If it wasn't, then that's something she needs to raise with that seller, particularly after she reached out to that seller and expressed very targeted concern about their record as far as shipping. You can see what I'm looking at. There's a chunk of that missing. It's cracked this way, and then it's also cracked all the way right about up to here on the front as well. That's actually cracked further over than I could feel with my hand initially. It's cracked pretty much to right about there. And again, it's possible that it was like this in the photos. But if it wasn't, and I saw a little something on the front of here as well. It's much smaller. Where was it? Down here on the bottom. Let me zoom in on that. I like the little brass corner pieces on the case. I don't know about you, but I think they're really cool. Here we can see it looks like some sort of a nail or a screw has actually been pressed through the case wood itself. And then, I don't know if you can see it in the shot, but there's a crack from the top of this little brass accent piece running all the way up to here, just about a little bit above halfway on there. I'll see if I can zoom in that as well so Jodie can see it more close. And for all we know, it could be cracked all the way behind that brass corner piece as well, because we can't see. But you can see it's possible it was like this. It's possible something was not packed well on the inside and it banged against some sort of a rivet or something, and then it pushed it through that veneer. It's hard to say. But I know Jodie's a very sharp lady, and as she looks at this, she'll know immediately if this was represented in the photos. Now we're cracked just about up to that point. You see where that crack ends? It ends right about there where there's another little dimple in the wood. And then if we follow it back down, it goes all the way down to right there. And then again, hang on a second. Air compressors, they're one of those silent giants that just all of a sudden decide, hey, I need to come on. So yeah, we don't know if it's behind this brass piece, and that crack may continue all the way down. And again, I'm not sure if it was like this or represented like this in the photos. If I were a seller and I were selling something at this price range, I would take close-ups of any cracks or anything like that in this case, because the case is an integral part of this unique machine as well. A very integral part. It almost looks like an old-style tool chest, doesn't it? Almost looks like the old-style tool chest that the workmen used to carry around. I can't even imagine what those things weighed. They had to, I mean, they were solid wood. They had to weigh a good 30 pounds. And then all the tools on top of that were stuck inside of them. Can you imagine? Those guys did not need a Y membership. They didn't need to go to the gym. They had the gym with them all the time. So I'm going to pop this latch open. And we'll put on a little bit more reggae. And we'll see how this treasure is packed on the inside. And that may give us a clue as far as the damage we're seeing on the outside of the case. Alright, so that last one again was called Satisfaction Guarantee. This next one is called Go Shuffle or something like that. Any guesses yet? I'm not looking at the chat, so I have no idea if you're posting any guesses. I'm going to come off the tripod because I want Jodie to see up close after she, in a very ladylike way, read this guy the riot act on packing this very carefully after she had read some of the negative feedback that he had gotten on the quality of packing and shipping. My first impression opening this case up is not to be impressed. I'll just say that. All right, here we go. What does it do? It doesn't do anything. All right, anybody getting any warmer guesses? You can see part of the machine already because their idea of protecting the machine and bubble wrapping it was to stick a plastic bag on top, which is not anchored, and I don't even know what this is doing. This is about as, I am gonna rant. This is about as useful as this stupid styrofoam down here that's already busted up. Ah! I mean, yeah, if I want to save a lot of money, I'll go to Walmart and I'll buy a stick of gum and then I'll grab like about 50 of their plastic bags and that'll become my packing standard. No, that's not going to happen. No. What is this person thinking? Honestly. And with taking this off with a very thin layer of bubble wrap, we're all the way down already to this real cool machine. We're all the way down to this machine already. That is shocking to me. That's totally shocking. Really? I've got this guy's return address. I'm going to go to his house and shoot out his porch light, I think. I'm sorry, Jodie. I've got to do it. I know the guy's from California, too, but I am going to go to his house and shoot his porch light out. I'm joking. I won't do that. I'm going to send Dr. Singer. Dr. Singer is an assassin. You don't know that. None of you know that about him. Look at that face. Innocent, gentle, but deadly. Oh, yeah, he'd do it for me, wouldn't you, Dr. Singer? That's like he's nodding. He's nodding right now. So, just all right, if you have any grandkids or kids in the room, kick them out for a second, because I've got to say the word. This is a crappy packing job. This is a real crappy packing job. From the outside, with throwing a bunch of busted up styrofoam around this beautiful handcrafted case, to what's inside to afford any level of protection at all to this machine. A real, I'm bummed. I'm bummed. And this is Jodie's machine, for gosh sakes. Ugh. So have any of you hit it out of the park? I'm not looking at the chat. Have any of you guessed what this machine might be? I'm just going to look around the case a little bit as well. And this may have been like this again, but damage like this to the inside of this wood case, where the wood is just basically just chipped away. It's absolutely preventable, and it's because of this solid metal foot controller here that is, look at, remember me telling you about foot controllers? How they're fragile, how they're delicate. Can you imagine coming all the way from California, how much this foot controller, and the machine for that matter, was banging around inside of this beautiful solid wood case, tearing all of this up and getting banged around against the sides and everything. This is just a thin laminate right here, kind of an ornamental type laminate that is separating this foot controller from where the machine is housed in the middle. And there's nothing at all. I mean, those ridiculous little plastic bags, we're not going to keep this thing from banging around. I've said it before, you need to wrap a foot controller like this, like it's fragile. 3-4 layers of bubble wrap, strap it down. Come on, really? It's absolutely nuts. All right, I can't really show you the foot controller because it's got the name of the manufacturer on it. But I'm going to shield it and go to the top of the foot controller, which is unbelievably cool. And it's got their branding mark there in the middle, so if you're pretty savvy, if you're pretty daggone smart, which duh, you are, you might already know what this machine is. Isn't that cool? I've got a machine like this in my collection, and I'd have to dig to find it, but it's got the same thing where it's got the foot controller on the top shaped like a foot. It looks like it's shaped like the contours of someone's foot, basically. And that is just really neat. And it's built like a tank. I'm just going to tell you, it's built like a tank. I think the foot controller alone is probably 5 to 10 pounds. That is just a meaty foot controller. Okay, I'll show you the side of the foot controller and give you a huge clue on the manufacturer. On the manufacturer, okay, you ready? Wilcox and Gibbs. Wilcox and Gibbs. Look at that neat little plug-in point right there. That is cool. Very cool. Very, very neat foot controller. That gets a 5 out of 5 stars as far as I'm concerned. The other side's the same. It's a little bit scuffed up, and we got some potential wiring issues here. If I kind of zoom in on it. And again, that's not that outer casing. It's almost like a woven type outer casing to insulate that wiring. That doesn't mean the wiring on the inside is compromised. It just means that outer casing has been compromised. And they used to use that technique of that woven style wrap around the electrical connections and wires quite a bit back in the day. So you know now who the manufacturer is. You know now who the manufacturer is. Wilcox and Gibbs. So I'm going to see if I can lift. I'm going to move this real crummy attempt to pack out of the way so it will no longer be a visual source of irritation to me. Hold on a second, I'm just going to set the camera down. Actually, one of the attachments, it's like a hem guide, just kind of floating in the box. Just floating in the box. What a cool foot control. Isn't that the coolest foot control ever? Very, very cool. I should dig mine out so you can see it. And I think that may have been a Wilson and Wheeler type machine that I have a foot control like this on. But okay, and wow. This is like the big unveiling now. I'm going to take off a single layer of bubble wrap, which is not strapped to this machine. It's just draped over the top. And then I'm going to work on getting this machine out. But first of all, I'm going to get the camera back on the tripod so that I can have both hands free. Both hands free. Just having an idea what Jodie paid for this machine, I want to handle this with the care that this seller obviously did not give to this machine. Alright, plus I'm going to put on some more reggae because it'll keep me from going into a rant again, hopefully. Alright, so the last one was called Ouagadougou Shuffle or something like that. And this next one is called Island Woke, and it's labeled dramatic. So we might as well be dramatic when we're taking the machine out, right? Here we go. And I'm pleased to say we don't have any wasps in the workshop today. Yay! Here at Cow Country Vintage Sewing Machines and Restoration, we value our customers. So we only use the highest grade and highest quality of packing materials. Notice the strength and yet rigidity of this quality styrofoam that's pointing the direction towards success. Can we retake that shot again? That wasn't supposed to happen. Oh gosh. All right. Voila. Now you can kind of see the machine now sticking through there. Alright, so you already know the maker. You already know the maker is Wilcox and Gibbs. Now you have to try to guess the actual model of this machine. And I can tell you it is on the front of the owner's manual, which is out of view. Doggone that cameraman. All right, get your final guesses in. Get your final guesses in. So on the bottom of this really cool case, there's just a bunch of packing peanuts kind of dumped in. I don't know if you can see that or not. I'm going to move the camera a little bit. That's the protection, along with a couple more high quality pieces of styrofoam. So yeah, the quality of the packing, this seller just does not get it. And I think Jodie may have even pointed him to the packing videos on our YouTube channel. Like, hey, pack it like this. Get even close to this. And apparently the guy does not have a computer. Maybe he has a computer. Ugh. I'll just leave the rest of those packing peanuts in the bottom of the case. And I'm going to move this case to the rear. And I'll move some of these other goodies to the rear as well, along with the instruction manual, which I see is off the camera as well. So as soon as I put this machine in front, if you don't have something posted, it's going to be too late. It's gonna be too late. It's gonna be too late. That is a meaty motor on this. I'm looking forward to kind of zooming in on that, seeing if they have the amperage mapped out on it and stuff. That would be really neat. I'm just going to set this to the side over here. What a beautiful, beautiful piece. All right, I don't know if anybody got it or not, but this is called, and I should change the shot, excuse me. This is called we'll come kind of distant first. This is called the Wilcox and Gibbs Automatic. It was also known as the noiseless sewing machine because it ran so quiet. It ran so very, very quiet. And I'm not going to try plugging it in because there's a lot of wiring that's kind of in question right now. And you know what? To do this machine justice, we're probably going to have to come off the tripod again, and I'll get real close to it because there's a lot of neat stuff to see on this very cool machine. And I have no idea if, I guess I could Google it real quick. Obviously, 1800s is going to be a general guess, but to get a specific guess on this, as a matter of fact, why don't I give that to all of you as a task instead of me doing it? Why don't you Google when did, and it's not going to give us a pinpoint, it's going to give us a ballpark, but when did this specific model, which is called the noiseless sewing machine, the Wilcox and Gibbs Automatic Noiseless Sewing Machine, when did this come on the scene? Oh, I'll be doggone, there's Jodie's machine. It just popped up on my screensaver. The previous one. I'll probably get over there and it'll, it went away. There's Heinz. Heinz! Did you all see that on Facebook? If you do Facebook, you saw Han's really cool gear. It's mandated by the Department of Agriculture, I think it is, in Norway, where he has to wear specific gear when he's working on his farm. Even if he's on private property, he's got to wear very specific gear. So, all right, let me do this. Oh, this is good. This is called Cora, the next one, and it's labeled Calm. So let's see if we can do this one. Kind of buzz around this machine a little bit. So you've already seen the foot controller. Let's take a look at this plate. Yeah, I think I'll stand up. I can move around a little bit easier. So I'm seeing dates on there, but I don't know if that's going to help us much. April 17th. I'm assuming that would be 1883. Wilcox and Gibbs out of New York and London. I didn't know about the Paris. I knew about the New York and London, but patent in Great Britain. Not a huge amount of filigree work, at least near the front of it. You know, you expect it to have a real prominent faceplate area, but it's just very, very simple. But when you move through the rest of the machine, all of a sudden a lot of that decorative touch kicks in. You see kind of between here. What a cool badge mark, isn't it? I love it. So right across here it would say Wilcox and Gibbs, and that filigree has just from use and time has worn off. You can still see part of the Gibbs. And they make a lot of aftermarket decal sets, but I don't know if they have an aftermarket decal set for a machine like this, truthfully. Boy, if you miss those oiling points, you're really without a clue, aren't you? That's what those are right there. Those are two key lubrication points for that shaft that's coming off of the motor, coming down to the raceway to power the feed dogs and to drive the machine. Very unique design and layout. Just look at that arm. on almost like a piston style coming down to that needle bar. The piston style needle bar really is what it is. Very cool design, very cool engineering design. There's no belt that I can see. There's obviously a place right here to for a belt groove, but we look like we're powered directly from the motor to the balance wheel. Very cool, very cool. And I'm not intimately familiar with this Wilcox and Gibbs model, so I'm going to have to look through it and make sure that we're not missing any parts. Jodie and I both agreed and understood that, you know, this may be a machine that, depending on parts availability and that, may be a machine we can get operating as it did originally, or it may become a decorative ornamental piece that will stay in her home as a reminder of that special friend of her mom's, Cora, where this machine got its namesake. Let's get over by this motor. This motor's got a real cool... Actually, let me go here first. And there's a serial number on the front of there. 12358. Very cool, very cool. Boy, you can see those brass wraps all the way from the side here. That's going to be a fun motor to go through. That is a beefy motor. If you can't get an idea of size and perspective, let me see. Hold on a second. I'm just going to set this down. Basic Singer motor. Do I have one? Certainly probably have a bunch of basic Singer motors. Well, I'll just pull this one off the workbench over here. This is an older style Singer motor to give you a size perspective. It's going to be about a, what does it say, 0.6 amps? Yeah, 0.6 amps. And look at it in relation to this motor that's on this machine. David and Goliath. That's a full-size motor right here that would go onto a Singer machine. This is a real classic, older style Singer machine that would be mounted, obviously. And you look at it in perspective to this motor that's on this Wilcox and Gibbs machine, this automatic. It's got to be, what, 4 times bigger in overall size. It's huge, huge. All right, let's see if we can read any of this on this plate, which has really got me intrigued. Made by Westinghouse. Oh, we've seen Westinghouse motors before, haven't we? Made by Westinghouse. So kind of like some of the other motors we've had recently, this one is not giving us specific amps. It's giving us 110 volts. It's giving us cycles, I think. Where's the cycles? 70 cycles. And there are conversions online where you can get an estimate, but gosh, I would just totally be guessing. The size of this motor can be deceptive because it's not engineered as well as some of the later motors where they could get a lot more amperage output. But I'll tell you one thing, if once I get going through this motor and get it optimized, whatever we got, it's going to be a lot. That's for sure. Let me see if I can just turn this around a little bit. Yeah, we're definitely seeing some cracking on the wiring. See that coming into the back of the motor? And that may just be, again, the outside coating. It may not be a big deal at all, but it's still going to have to be repaired. So trying to turn this all the way around so we can look at the back of this as well. This is going to be where our spool, pretty sure that's where our spool is going to be mounted. And there may be some additional parts that will allow us to do that. Otherwise, I can always fabricate something. What a unique machine, isn't it? What a unique machine. The first Wilcox and Gibbs machine of this type that's been on this channel. I'm sure hoping that I'll have everything I need to get it running as it was intended to run, because I think that'd be really cool to be able to demonstrate this, wouldn't it? And this is our manual that Jodie got with the machine. I'll kind of zoom in on it a little bit. The noiseless sewing machine. See that? The environmentalists could not get upset. You know, when they, particularly out in California, I remember when I lived in California, there was a lot of opposition to the wind turbines for a variety of reasons. And as I was driving through the different areas out in, oh gosh, near the Bay Area and that, on the outskirts, I didn't think that they were loud or anything, so I'm not sure what exactly the opposition was, but nonetheless, they couldn't have any opposition about this particular model because it's supposed to be noiseless, absolutely noiseless. And we got some other goodies that came with it. I'm just going to grab them. Looks like an improved tucker. So we've got some neat little attachments that came with it as well, and I think the other one is a ruffler. Improved ruffler. How much would you expect to pay for this ruffler? $19.95? No. I believe I read that this machine, when it was sold in Great Britain, only went for about 18 pounds. And I don't know what the conversion would have been back then, but it wasn't a lot. So, Jodie, Cora is gorgeous. And I'm really hoping and praying that we can get everything that we need to give her an opportunity to show her majesty. And just to step on this foot controller, I mean, who wouldn't want to do that, right? That thing's got to stand probably, I'm guessing, probably about 7 inches tall. It's huge. It's absolutely mammoth. Very cool. All right, let me get the camera up on the tripod because I have some history that I researched on this company that I think is very interesting. And like I said, it's a little bit lengthy, so I'm going to zoom in on the machine so you've got something to look at when I'm sharing this with you. And I'm also going to grab probably something to drink as well. I'm going to move this camera as well so we can get a little bit closer to Cora. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good shot. You can just see the edge of the foot controller, not the whole thing, but that's okay. I don't want to block the machine with it because this thing is huge. Put it kind of like right there, maybe that'll help. Okay, I'm going to grab a quick drink of soda, and then I'm going to share some of this history that I found on Wilcox and Gibbs. Some of you may already be familiar with this, but I would guess the majority of you are not. So I think it'll be really interesting. All right. Just bear with me for a second here, folks. All right, this next one is called Rise Up. I'm going to turn it way down just to have a little bit of music in the background so you have something to blend with my voice. And hopefully we can get through all this. gosh, this is cool. You know what, since they had a base in England too. Okay, I heard him. I heard him. I heard him. Oh, y'all may get bored with Mr. Bean, but I just think he is the cat's meow. I just do. I'm going to give him a little bit more light so he can increase his dance moves, maybe. Yeah, that's Mr. Bean right there. All right. So, the history of the Wilcox and Gibbs Company. The Wilcox and Gibbs Sewing Machine Company was formed in 1857 by James Wilcox and his son Charles of Philadelphia and James E.A. Gibbs of West Virginia. Gibbs patented his first practical single-thread rotary twisted chain stitch machine for domestic use in 1856. And let me just say this, that getting the first Wilcox and Gibbs machine from drawing board to shop counter was an adventure that was just riddled with engineering problems. Wilcox, who was in charge of production, approached the Providence, Rhode Island company of Brown and Sharp, who were at the time makers of clocks, watches, and measuring instruments, and asked if they would be interested in producing this new sewing machine. This was in some ways a strange request, for the company he had chosen was very small, with only 5 lathes, 1 drill, and a couple of planers. But he went along in late 1857 or early 1858 with the prototype he had made himself in an attempt to get a costing on the job. Brown and Sharp were a little cagey, not wanting to commit to a price for work of which they had no experience. Eventually, Wilcox and Sharp reached a compromise. The machine shop would produce a batch of 12 machines, and then the cost would be accurately gauged. To hedge his bets, Sharp wanted an agreement whereby Wilcox would pay $3 per day during the development time. Once more, Sharp wanted to build the machines using specially made dies and tooling rather than as one-offs. Wilcox also had agreed to pay for this work even if the machine was not a commercial success. This idea of special tooling, and therefore the complete interchangeability of parts, almost led to the downfall of the project before the first machine was even finished. Work began in March of 1858 when the first drawings were made, and soon the local New England Bull Company was busy on the frame castings. About 4 of Brown and Sharp's men, aided by Charles Gibbs, worked full-time to produce the tools which would eventually make the sewing machine parts. But at the end of May, Sharp had to write Wilcox to admit that his work was taking far longer than expected. Bear with me just for a second here, folks. Perhaps to encourage the manufacturer, kind of like this music encourages me, Wilcox upped his order to 100 machines, of which 50 were to be the type already being worked and 50 would be a smaller model. It's not known at this time whether the machine we know today as the larger or smaller version. By the end of July, the letters from Sharp and to Wilcox were a little more optimistic, speaking of the end of the job being in sight and of buying new machines to hasten things along. Still no price was given. Then more snags cropped up. When iron castings cool, they can often develop chill spots where the material is very hard. This happened to the Bull Company castings, and to save wear on drills and reamers, all the castings had to be redone to remove the hard spots. This plus other problems led Sharp to write to Wilcox again in September, saying that he was very much discouraged over how the job was going, that more work was still being done on tooling than on the actual machines, and that it would still be many weeks before the first batch was finished. Lots of challenges, lots of problems. That's okay. I think based on the evidence of what we're seeing in front of us right now, and I'm not referring to the mighty Mr. Bean, based on what we're seeing as far as Cora being here is proof in the pudding that they eventually figured things out. So perhaps Wilcox's patience was wearing a little thin, for he, I'm looking for my spot, I'm sorry, remonstrated with Sharp, reminding him of their original production target date of many weeks previous. So Wilcox is getting a little bit ticked off, and he's telling Sharp, hey, we were supposed to be done with this weeks ago. And whenever things get extended like this, inevitably the costs go up. And in his defense, Sharp replied that the extra time had been taken getting things right, and had they rushed an imperfect machine into market, as other manufacturers had done, the new company's reputation could have been destroyed at birth. It's not a bad defense. Hey, we're doing things right instead of doing things hastily. When the figures were finally totaled, it was found that Brown and Sharp had spent 10 times its original budget just in the tooling for the machines. Oh boy. But in October of 1858, it all came together. Sharp wrote to Wilcox saying that the first 50 machines were on the final assembly benches, and that the firm was now able to produce at a rate of 5,000 machines per year. Fortunately for all concerned, the machine was an instant success, and the small tool room quickly became a factory, continuing to make the W and G machines well into the 1970s. And some of you may or may not know, the Wilcox and Gibbs Machine Company actually operated until around 1973. Brown and Sharp continued with its instrument business and developed a world-famous name for selling specialized machine tools to other sewing machine manufacturers. In addition to the domestic market, the company also produced a wide range of industrial models. Between 1878 and 1884, industrial machines were introduced under the names straw, bag, and hand stitch machines, and in 1889, a two-thread overlock machine was able to produce 3,000 stitches a minute. In 1889, the first Wilcox and Gibbs lock stitch machines appeared in the market. In 1912, a flat lock machine designed for seaming knitted underwear was invented, followed by a feld lock machine designed for seaming tubular garments. Among those who worked on Wilcox Gibb machines at the Brown and Sharp factory was one Henry Leland, who was in charge of the sewing machine department from 1887 to 1890. This same gentleman, Henry Leland, went on to devote his skills that he had learned on sewing machines to forming the prestigious Cadillac Car Company, which some people, I don't think a lot, but some have referred to as the Rolls-Royce of American automobiles. How cool is that? So this Leland character went on to build luxury cars after helping to take Wilcox and Gibbs to a point where they had success in building a machine just like you're seeing in front of you right now, aka Cora, that belongs to Jodie out in the great state of California. Mr. Bean, are you not even getting tired yet? Seriously? All right, I'm going to shut my light off to give you a little rest, my friend. Slow down, catch your breath. You're going to have a heart attack, dude. So there you go. A very unique unboxing with this really, really cool Wilcox and Gibbs automatic, aka the noiseless sewing machine. And I know Jodie is really going to be excited to see whether or not we can get her working. I'm going to pour, once she gets to the workbench, she's not going to be on the workbench for a while. A lot of other projects underway right now, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that we can either fabricate or acquire all the parts needed to get Cora running as she was intended to run. So I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing. I hope you also enjoyed the very lengthy history that I shared with you about Wilcox and Gibbs. These are folks that, kind of like I recently highlighted when I did the announcement about the major giveaway and eventually announced Ava as the winner, where I was talking about Dr. Seuss and how many obstacles and walls he encountered with all of those publishers rejecting his work, and how he could have given up and went on to be a great dry cleaner in New York. Coincidentally, just like this machine has roots back to that great state of New York. But there's so many times in life where we face challenges, and if we give up, we give up. But if we continue, we can enjoy success like this company did. And like Mr. Bean does as an incredible dancer. Mr. Bean, you're the most incredible dancer. Again, I'm not going to give you, I know you've already submitted an application. You've already submitted an application to try to get an apprenticeship with Dr. Singer. He's just told me it's not going to happen. I'm really sorry. He just said, you've got your God-given gifts of dance and humor. But you're not going to work on Cora. I'm sorry. I'm going to move you so you're not even tempted anymore. Come on, let go of the ground. Doggone it, Mr. Bean. You are as stubborn as the day is long. You really are. But again, Jodie, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to take a swing at this and see if we can get Cora running as she was intended to do. Again, my feedback to that seller that you bought this from on eBay is they definitely need to go back to school. Preferably come to our YouTube channel and watch some of our videos on packing, because after all the negative feedback that they've gotten on packing, I don't think that they've learned very much. And my hunch is that some of the damage that we're seeing today on this case, and maybe even some of the scratches and abrasions on Cora herself, are a direct result of some real poor packing on this seller's part. So I'm just going to say it. We're all about being genuine on this channel. Shame. I feel like Gomer Pyle. Shame, shame, shame. Shame, shame, shame to that seller for not doing a better job of protecting Cora. But she's here now. She's in the best of hands, which is why Jodie sent her, or told the seller to send her directly to Scott's workshop. And soon, hopefully very soon, we'll have a chance to see what we can do as far as getting Cora generating a gorgeous, gorgeous stitch as she was intended to do. Okay? Blah, 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 blah. All right, just a reminder, we are only probably around 100 subscribers away from hitting 8,000 subscribers, which will trigger our next major giveaway. So you want to stay tuned and watch for that. And I've already got some ideas on what the next contest is going to be, but I'm not going to tell you yet. I will tell you this. I will tell you this, that I was so utterly impressed, and I know Hans was impressed and Bill was impressed as well, with the incredible writing talent in all of these submissions that came in for the last contest, that it's probably going to be a writing-based contest. I'll tell you that much. And the other clue I'll give you is that it may somehow tie Bill or Rourke into the contest as well. Bum, ba bum, bum, ba bum, bum, bum. That's all I'm going to tell you for now, folks. I'm signing off. God bless. And remember, as I've said in other premieres recently, you're never old until regret takes the place of your dreams. So hang on to your dreams tight and don't give up on them, okay? Take care.